talking about drinking and nothing about thinking. As long as I'm high and I never ask why. You like me, you like me, you like me. Yeah. But the second I start with the state of the economy, black leadership, black cards, and black sovereignty, that's when you can't seem to follow me. Confusion, you feel like you're losing. I'm no longer amusing. This song's about choosing while you cruising. Either black entertainment or the black revolution. People love to see a young black man rap until he wakes up and realizes he's caught in the trap. So as long as I'm dancing, acting or rapping, walking around like I don't know what's happening, you like me, you like me, you like me. Hey, if I'm talking about drinking, it's nothing about thinking. As long as I'm high and I never ask why, you like me, you like me, you like me. But the minute I get in about the way these rappers spit it, the minute I start spitting that truth, it comes a critic. I freestyle off the top like removing your Yankee fitted, but they not really checking for skills, they want the gimmick. Many of the challenges we face, we can solve them, but there's no trust, no unity, and that's the problem. Black people fighting amongst themselves, that's the problem. White people fighting amongst themselves, that's the problem. U.S. foreign policy is simply just bomb them. Rebels against their own government, the U.S. arms them. Then when things get out of hand, yeah, they try to calm them. More money, more diplomacy, just charm them. If that doesn't work, then they move to Osama. Turn them into a terrorist so they can disarm them. Through the corporate media, we don't stand a chance, but too many people want us to just stand and dance. So as long as I'm dancing, acting or rapping, walking around like I don't know what's happening, you like me, you like me, you like me. If I'm talking about drinking and not about thinking, as long as I'm high and I never ask why, you like me, you like me, you like me. You like me, you like me, you like me.
Peace, peace, peace. Start touching this one. And this is Colonizations, Equal White Supremacy. And before I start, just got a few things I want to address. I want to give a shout out to everybody who sent donations. RM sent a $20 donation, and Precious Gym Healthcare sent a $50 donation. SE sent a $19 donation. RB sent a $9 donation. SG sent a $25 donation, and TR sent a $50 donation. So that's the most recent donations I got within a week. Shout out to everybody who was able to send a donation. I appreciate you. Also, like I said, if you would like to send a donation, the link is in the description. You can cash at me, or you can send it through my PayPal account. And also, if you would like to buy any Aborigine apparel, I have a T-shirt spring app set up or account set up, and the link is in the description. I got over 90 different styles, from hoodies, T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and regular crew neck sweatshirts as well. So if you would like to support me, you can support me in them ways. I appreciate everybody who do come through and support the kid and support the documentary, Hitting Cultures, Culture Freedom, Hitting Cultures of America. Um, I like to just put that out there first, man. Peace to all the time shines. Damn, son, I got a small viewership this morning. I don't know what's going on. I mean, but nonetheless, though, the show must go on. I got 27 people in the house. God damn. It's an all-time low for me, but nonetheless, though, let's keep it moving. All right, so a few things I want to address, right? I've been brought to my attention that I don't know when this. Let me see real quick. Let me go back. Also, I'm gonna play it just so anybody who might have a problem. Let me find it exactly. All right, so All right, so I believe it's like right here. Let me see.
He didn't show and prove. Nah. He didn't show and prove.
Hold on for some. I'm still with y'all.
All right. You can set that up. All right, well, let's put it like this. Because like I said, it's getting kind of late. I still have to go. But I will set it like this. Which means everybody before you actually... Which means everybody... You can actually trace your... Which means everybody...
So I'm just trying to find exactly where it was at.
As far as we were created here, this is our land. We create our own unique culture. We are the people here. But as far as you want to say that, oh, the slave trade didn't happen, that's totally different. But if you want to say black people in America should be seen as their own group, the same way Jamaicans are seen as their own group, the same way people in Nigeria are seen as their own group, and whatever the case may be, I agree with you 110% about that. We are our own group. We are unique people unto ourselves. Nah, we never said we was all one group. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. Wait, hold on, don't cut me off. Listen real quick, man. I got something to say. Let me ask you a question. Who is Edward Blyden? Huh? Who's that? Okay. Who was it? Nah, wait, don't. Nah. This one came from blood now. I'm asking you. He halfway home, like, man. He halfway home, man. Who was he? Because me and you could set up a debate on a separate day, and I'll smash you. You gay. You just say you smash me. I'll smash you to pieces. You don't want that smoke. You don't want that smoke with me, because I'll run you off YouTube just like I did Dan Calloway. You'll be another one off YouTube. We can set that up. He's a guest, man. Please. All right. Yeah. You can set that up. It's 5 of us on here, man. Don't do that, man. You gonna get it. All right. Well, let's put it like this. Because, like I said, it's getting kind of late. I still have to go. But I will set it like this. Endogenous one. Whenever you want to see me, let me know. I'll turn your lights out. You'll be gone. You're another one. Whatever you want to talk about, you'll be gone. You the same dude. Ain't you the same dude who called in and said on Sunday about the pyramid? And then people debunked your source in real time. You the same one. So you don't want no smoke with me, because you the same one who was trying to shit on Dan Calloway, and you was the same one on your channel this week talking about how you ready to work with Africans. Huh? So don't play with me. No, that's light man. You think that's the Tantanist one. You got the wrong person. That's light man. He just fucking with you. But that's a whole nother bill. All right, well, we gonna leave it on a good note. I'm out. We go home, and whoever it was, if you want to set that up, let me know.
All right, man. Just real quick before I even go in on a video, right? I have no interest in debating these fucking clowns, Javin Bullets or Royal Carter. You need to take your bitch ass where you came from. I'm not debating your dumb ass, because you don't have no content or work to debate you. Now, as far as what him saying about me having problems with Dan Calloway, I don't have no problems with Brother Calloway. And this is known. I put up massive videos like supporting the brother, as well as defending him against the so-called Pan-African or Afrocentric community. All right, so for this man to say that, and for him just to throw my name out there and slander me like that, is one thing. Now, as far as me being debunked, my pyramid source about Karoo and Ruth Shady and the pyramids in Peru, I believe that's epic, man. Because prior to me bringing that information out, nobody knew about it. I'm not going to say nobody knew about it, but no one was talking about it. No one was talking about the pyramids in Peru was older than the pyramids in Egypt. Okay? Now, you see, you know my source, Brother Garfield, and these other clowns, they try to dispute it. I got videos. Go back to my video. Go back to my Nike Aborigine address video, and I got another couple other videos that basically go into numerous different sources about the pyramids in the Americas are older than the pyramids in Egypt. So my shit never been debunked or nothing to that effect. All right, but like I said, man, I don't have no interest in debating these clowns about what are you going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? So you take your faggot ass Javin Bull out. Don't mention my name. Don't come here with that bullshit. I'm not running from nowhere. You ain't gonna take me off of YouTube. If you do take me off, you tell me to open another channel. I don't see how you do it unless you're an agent or unless you got some type of hacking skills to where you can do that. Other than that, I ain't running from no bitch ass niggas. But I ain't gonna debate no bitch ass niggas neither over no fucking dumb shit. I don't even know why Lotus even accepted debate over no pen. That was to me. And I respect the brother Lotus, me and him talk or whatever though, but I would have never been discussing shit with him about no Pan-African. Don't give that man no chance to debate you on a fucking closed-ended subject. The fuck, Pan? Fuck all that Pan shit. Like, I mean, that's some irrelevant shit, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I do not bring on my channel. My channel strictly, I'm teaching on my channel. I ain't got time for no goofy shit. You understand what I'm saying? So Javin Bullops, you take your ass back to side. And like I said, real talk, I don't know why y'all even allowing this nigga Javin Bullets to come into this shit. That's why I rock with a few people. I don't fuck with everybody. And I'm saying that shit on my channel right now. I don't fuck with everybody. And this is the reason why I don't fuck with everybody. Because you get jokers who never really did no work bringing niggas in like this fucking fuck boy or whatever. And then you can bring anybody who want to fucking debate and talk about the Aborigines, but niggas ain't really putting out no real research or really helping nobody learn their fucking culture about this shit. And that's the shit that get me mad. Okay? Because I done put in a lot of work with this shit. This is not a joke or no fucking fun shit to me. Okay? This shit, you've been declassified. You are classified as Negro, black, and colored. Everybody come here, benefit from your culture. Meanwhile, we having these senseless fucking squabbles and these stupid ass fucking debates for what? You understand? The main debate is, are we Aborigines or are we African? That's the only debate I want to have. I don't want to have no other debates about no fucking Pan and man. Listen, bro, keep that shit over there. Don't bring that shit towards me. Okay? So with that being said, man, let me start this video, man. But just put that out there. Relay the message, send a kite. I'm gonna call Chief Holiday later on today. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna discuss this shit or whatever though. But I mean, Chief probably is in the Western. I'll probably call him when I get off of this or whatever though. But nah, don't be mentioning my name, slandering me, throwing no shit out there. If you don't know who the fuck you talking to, nigga, then you need to ask who the fuck is you talking to. Don't make no assumptions that I'm the tie. I never said anything about this nigga Javin Bullock because he ain't worth talking about. He's not a scholar. He's not nobody who I'm interested in. He ain't nothing but a YouTube troll. I have no interest in mentioning this nigga name. I only mention this nigga name so he'll know. Yeah, it got back to me. You know what I'm saying? So understand that. Do not motherfucking slander my name. Do not throw my name up in no bullshit. All right? So with that being said, let's get into this fucking video, man. Let's get there. All right, so you see the title, Colonization Equal White Supremacy. Now, you know I got two other videos I just came out, which is White Identity Extremist Terrorism, and this is going to be another sub division of that, or sub document of that, all right? Because I will be mentioning presidents that did order Aborigines off their land. So all right, so we're gonna get with this. It's gonna be a in-depth video. I'm gonna try to rock out for about maybe about 2 hours, man. So sit back and like I said, anybody have any problems, You know, got my email. My email is chiefatonchon at AOL.com. That's CHIEFAUTOCHTHON at AOL.com. So let's get with this. All right. So this is the starting point of it. All right. And I start with this: the conflicts between Native Americans and colonists. All right. So initially, white colonists viewed Native Americans as helpful and friendly. They welcomed the natives into their settlements, and the colonists willingly engaged in trade with them. They hoped to transform the tribe people into civilized Christians. It's a though through their daily contact. The Native American, which we know we're not native, we are Aborigines. They just throw that word native just to cover the fact that they was calling us Aborigines. Okay, so it's a resented, and that's the reason why you don't see these people called Aborigines as well. Okay, we know that these people are not called Aborigines. We know that when you look the word Aborigine up, you're going to go back to 1585. It's going to be basically that is also dealing with the doctrine of discovery mentioned Aborigines. But nonetheless, let me keep on going. So Native Americans or Aborigines resented and resisted the colonists' attempt to change them. Okay, and say their refusal to conform to European culture angered the colonists, and hostilities soon broke out between the two groups. The violence of their confrontation with the Native Americans resulted in a shift of English attitudes towards other races. Now remember, they trying to say other races, which led to so-called African slave trade, but no, they enslaved the Indians here on the land. The Indians here was classified as Negroes. That's why they called them black. So you can find that word black going back to the beginning when they got here. All right, so it's a colonization. Blame their future blame their failure to assimilate the Aborigines into their culture on racial differences, and begin to associate all other people of color with negative characteristics. That's bullshit though, because the people of color are classified as Native American. All right, it's a some Native American tribes embraced the English and their culture because doing so brought them prestige, wealth, and a strong military ally. Okay, it say they participated in English society by adopting their traditional skills to meet the military need of the colonists. At the same time, many tribes became dependent on their white allies to maintain power over tribal enemies. Now look, check this out, right? It say at time, many tribes depended on their white allies. So what do you mean they depended? Why would we depend on our white ally? Because they gave them an open reign to come to the Americas. Okay, so every time you turn around, it was another colony being set up over here. And these people had a supremacy, which they were trying to be supreme over the people of the land. And you're going to see this throughout this video. Okay? Now it's saying, it's now one more time. It's saying, so why would we need white Europeans that ain't from this land to ally with us? Because there was so many Europeans coming here to the point to where everywhere you look, you would see another European, you like that, and they was hostile and they was rowdy, which led to a lot of shit that I talked about in my last two videos. Okay, so it's saying, and remember this, right? Like I said, this is history. I'm trying to just the most thing I'm trying to gain out of me being an Aborigine is a sense of identity. You know what I'm saying? Respect, and at least let this shit that happened in the past be brought to the forefront. Okay, I am not doing this by any means to like for any I don't know, I don't have no malice intent in doing this. I just want my only intent is to get my information out there about about what was done to us over here, man. That's it. You understand what I'm saying? But do I plan on filing some lawsuits or some grievances? Yes, I do. I do, because if I'm an Aborigine here and this is my land, and you've been hiding this shit, and your idea was to get us to assimilate into your society, then under the what's the name, I have a right to adapt my culture. All right. And also for me to adapt my culture, or for me to go back and reconstruct my culture, I got to go back and go through the history notes of what was done over here. All right. So unfortunately, well, fortunately, I'm putting this shit out on YouTube, or making documentaries in which basically explains the attitude and the situation that we currently in, and some of the reasons why we was treated like we was treated over the last 200 years. It wasn't the fact that we was African slaves. You see that they was changing your name on birth certificates, putting, why would, if you were Indian, why would they classify you as Negro and put color on it? And then they put a lot of confusing shit out there, because they show you a lot of I want to say, how do I say, amalgamated so-called tribes. And a lot of people say, well, there was a lot of different, no, it wasn't a lot of different people over here. Wasn't no Mongoloids in this area where we at. Where the Europeans came at, there was no Mongoloids over here. And like I said, when you see that all of these conflicts with a lot of these presidents, Washington, Jefferson, Jackson, a lot of these people, you see why we hold their last name, because a lot of these people went up against the Aborigines, man. That's the reason you ain't got the last name Jackson, because they bought, because Andrew Jackson had African slaves. Andrew Jackson had Aborigine slaves. Thomas Jefferson had Aborigine slaves. George Washington had Aborigine slaves. They was warring directly with the fucking Aborigines. And the POWs that they catch, they was keeping them as fucking slaves, man. You understand? That's the reason why your last name is Washington, Jefferson, Jackson, etc. You understand? You know what I'm saying? In my case, my last name, I ain't gonna say, well, I have two last names, but one of the last name I went by was Lee, and that we know where we got that last name from. General what's the name Lee. That name came from him. You understand what I'm saying? So look, so let's keep it moving. So all right, so it say, let me read this one more time from the top. It say, at the same time, many tribes became dependent on their white allies to maintain power over the tribal enemies. Two groups maintained peaceful relations as long as the native or Aborigines conform to English social and religious practices. As long as you conform to English, social, and religious practices. All right. Say King Philip War marked the turning point in the colonists' acceptance of the Aborigines. They appreciated the success of their Aboriginal allies, but they also feared it. They distrust of the friendly tribes resulted in policies and segregation and discriminatory laws. Now, who under segregation and discriminatory law? And see, what happened is this. Even when you get to the Trail of Tears, which happened in 1837, all right. Even when you get to the Trail of Tears, because my thing is, the original people who went on them Trail of Tears was Negroes. Them was Negroes. The original people who went on the trail. Now I'm starting to really kind of piece a lot of stuff together. But the people who made that trek from this, there was no Mongoloids in the South. So to get that out your head, there was no Mongoloids from I want to say from Canada to South to Florida. There was no Mongoloid, and then I'm gonna say that go out west from Florida to Louisiana and up through the Great Lakes region right there. Them was all Negroes, okay? Now, them people who lived in there, the reason why you see Mongoloids now, because of that they put a lot of these tribes together and allowed them just to move around where they want to move around. And a lot of people you start seeing in a lot of these mixed tribes and everything, because like I said, when you go to these powwows, there's three different types of people. You got white Indians, you got black people saying that they're Indian, and then you got Mongoloids saying that they're Indians. So which one is the real Indian? But we know who the real Indian, because we got images of what they showed you. If you look at John Oberle, John Fairburn, Arnoldas Montanez, you look at the many different, because they try to hide it, man. They tried to hide it so good to the point to where you can't hide it. You cannot hide it. You can't hide it. You made the emblem of America and put two black Indians in there. You made numerous different images of what the Indians look like, and they don't look nothing like the people that they show you today. These people are the people that's classified as African Americans. And this is facts. This ain't no theory. This ain't no shit that anybody should be sitting up here debating. It's facts. They have too many images showing you what the people here look like. And so it's ironic that they look like us and we don't look like Africans. It's ironic that they look like us and we don't look directly like Africans, okay? So let's keep this shit moving. I got a lot to get at, all right? So I'm going to go here first. All right, so this one right here. All right, so this is European meets America. Property rights in the New World, all right? It say property rights create peace and prosperity, all right? So I'm going to read through a little bit of this, and I'm going to get to Sir Walter Raleigh again because we need to touch in on him, okay? So it say when Europeans arrived in America and began to claim the rich land, okay, they encountered, they brought with them an equal rich European tradition of property law and justification for establishing property rights. Today, these are often mistakenly lumped together into the law of conquest, sometimes in an attempt to cast modern titles into doubt by routing them into violence. However, the ideas about property that the Spanish, Portuguese, French, Dutch, and especially the English colonists brought to America, it say were far more complex than might make right. It say many of these ideas, hold up, my bad. Many of these ideas became established in American soil, and some were transformed by their encounter with the New World. In some of the new nations of America, the result has been a long tradition of respect and property rights. In others, an opposing tradition of contempt for property rights took root. It say one of the most enduring myths of the European America is that the culture were a kind of property less in Eden. It say in which various people existed in harmony with one another and with nature. It say even a brief survey of the major pre-Columbian civilization of the Inca, Aztec, Mayas, and North American tribes quickly demonstrate that such a view neglects well-established customs that include recognizable form of property and scarce resources, from weapons to hunting territories, as well as conflict among tribes and other groups over control of the territory. All right, Aborigines encountering Europeans may have been unfamiliar with their particular form of property ownership. Okay, property ownership, which now who property ownership, okay? You let that seek into your brain. I say, but such unfamiliarity did not long survive. Extended contact between Europeans and Aborigines. In part, these differences were the result of the differences between Europeans and America. For example, Europe was more crowded than the eastern seaboard of North America. Okay, say for example, Europe was more crowded. Now, if you look, check this out, right? Now, if you take a look how big Europe look on a damn map, right? I'm not pulling the map up right now, but if you look and see how big Europe was on the map, right? You would say to yourself, well, damn, how was it crowded? How many Europeans are there? There's not even a billion Europeans on this planet. There's not a billion Europeans on this planet. This is facts. I'm going to say more than 2/3 of them is here in America. I'm gonna say over half of them is here in America. All right. So if it's 400 million people here, you say probably about 200. They want to say about maybe 250 of them are European descent. So you want to say it's probably another 2/3 out there in the world somewhere. So I'm saying probably about 800 million of them, maybe. And with the declining rate in birth, it's probably less than that. But nonetheless, though, so why would Europe be overcrowded? Okay, just keep that in mind, all right? So it's more crowded than the eastern seaboard of North America. And so land was scarce. population estimates, the pre-contact populations vary wildly, but it seemed clear that even the highest estimate put the population density well below contemporary European levels. As a result, land was more abundant than it was in Europe, so the allocation was less likely to be worth the effort to make boundaries and claim precise. But the scarce resources in particular areas such as goods, hunting grounds, it's a word subject to property rights. Okay, it's say in short, many, if not all, of the pre-contact residents had their own well-developed systems of property rights before the arrival of European. These property rights involve the response of European contact with new rights delineated as trades with the Europeans made previously underlined rights, valuables. Harold Demsent, classic 1967 article towards a theory of property rights. For example, show how rights to beaver pelts develop among the Aborigine tribes in response to the European demand for fur. Now, we all know about that, okay? Now, the Europeans added a wide range of ideas about property to mix. The European feudal tradition made property contingent on grants from the monarch. Vassal held their lands, known as a feud, on conditions of providing services and homage to the lord above him. William the Conqueror brought feudalism to England, redistributing English estates to his supporters in 10. Now, this right here is dealing with the Moors, dealing with how they came there and took over the black existence in that land. Okay, this is when you start talking about, how the Europeans even came to England, or because that's why English, you know what I'm saying, or British, you know what I'm saying, ish. We know ish is like. So we already know where that shit came from. You hear about even up to the 1800s that motherfucking Europe was black. And we know after the 1900s, after colonization and going around the world doing what they did, we know that they shipped a lot of the black people out of there and changed the history books, okay? We know Queen Elizabeth, who's responsible for now, she's not the heir of none of that shit. Most of the gold was taken from here. That's the reason why when you look it up, they say that British get almost 2/3 of any any valuables that was found in Americas. All right. So it's none of these received almost all the land in England. The king could reclaim the property, and the futile tenant failed to comply with the obligation, committed treason, or died. In some part, now look, this is the same shit going on right now. If you die, if you got a house right now and you don't leave that house to no one, the motherfucker who gonna take over? The motherfucking city, the municipality, which is controlled by the same fucking futile system that this shit was controlled by. Okay? So it's saying you'll never own property. And like I said, it's my quest. My quest is for me to be recognized who I am, and you're going to separate me from these immigrants that came here and signed paperwork. I don't care if I got to take this shit to the Supreme Court. You're not going to treat me, you're not going to tell me that I'm a motherfucking immigrant and keep calling me an African and keep treating me the same way you treating Hector and the motherfucking Chi Yang and fucking these motherfuckers that come from Europe. You're not going to treat me. You're going to treat me differently from these people. Because if I'm indigenous here and you hitting my culture, then I have a right to go back and claim that culture. And if my culture puts me here before any of these people, then I need to have a redress of grievances, all right? Let's keep it moving, y'all. All right, so I'm gonna read that again. So it said the king could reclaim his property, and the futile tenant failed to comply with his obligation, committed treason, or died. In some parts of the European, his absolutist conception of property rights as dependent on the state survive relatively unchanged. In Property and Freedom, historian Richard Pipes ties to lack of political and economical liberty in Tarsus, Russia, to the weakness of the property rights in this society. All right, a second tradition more friendly to liberty also existed in Europe, one which saw property rights as independent of the monarch and in state, particularly in England. But also among groups of thinkers ranging from the Spanish scholars, scholastic, to those in the Dutch Republic. Many Europeans saw property as a natural right. See, as a natural right, right? It say while Americans are most familiar with John Locke statement of the argument in his second treatise, the treaty continent writer include Hugo Gattas and Samuel Penfordorf also developed influential natural rights theories of properties. All right, among the colonies in America, this idea took strongest root in North America. English colonies, in particular, the Puritans argue that the land was held not of the king, but of the gift of God alone. As a result, the owner of these allodio, as the owner of these allodio, the opposite of futile land holding, own no service to the Lord. Okay. Um, Now, American colonists from Britain brought with them both this natural right heritage and a significant set of common law practices dealing with property. In general, the property in the land, in particular, in his 1765 essay, dissertation of the canon of the futile law. For example, John Adams argued that American land titles were not futile, and Thomas Jefferson in his, and we're going to deal with Thomas Jefferson as too, right? In his 1774 instructions to Virginia delegations to the Continental Congress, a summary review of rights to a British American. See, now look, what I try to tell you, man, what's the title? The title is Colonization Equal White Supremacy, all right? So it's saying now they can own land here, but yet you're going to see how they push a lot of people from off their land. So who gives anybody the right to come to anybody land that's not theirs and say, "Oh, I have a right to be here"? You ain't got you have a right to go back where you was from and build shit there. And this is the shit that's going on now. The people of the land get treated the fucking worst. Meanwhile, the people who came here and benefited from the system get everything. Okay? It's the reason why you see the wealth gap. I don't care if there's poor white people. I don't give a fuck. But for the most part, that same white person go get a haircut, put on a motherfucking suit and tie, and benefit from the racism, white supremacy. And like I said, many people got different views over white supremacy, but from my understanding of studying this history, colonization is white supremacy. Because if they telling you that the Indians had to ally with these Europeans, because when the other Europeans came here, they probably would tell them like, nah, man, don't fuck with them. They good people or whatever. But meanwhile, these same people was the same people who was going burning down your motherfucking villages and making you leave from there because they were scared. They were scared. Okay. So, all right, where was I? All right, so the Virginia delegations to Continental Congress, a summary view of the rights of British America. It went even further, linking the colonists' allodial titles to America. Now, it's saying the colonists allodial, saying they had a allodial title. Now, look, let's look up what the word allodial means. Let's look it up. I'm on my phone, y'all, so give me 1 second. I'm not going to pull it up. Probably should have had it up already, but, shit is winging this shit. You know what? I don't even see this shit in the etymology dictionary. Let me go to my other dictionary, my Webster's. Better this in here. All right, there you go. Let me see something. Just bear with me, y'all. There you go. All right, so according to the Webster's 1828 First English Dictionary, allodial, it's a returning to allodium. It's a freehold, free rent, or services held independent of lord paramount. It's a opposed to feudal. All right, so we just read what basically the feudal system. Let's look that up real quick. Let me see something. All right, so basically feudal, it's a returning to feuds, it's a fifths, it's a or fees, it's a feudal rights of services, it's a consistent of feuds or fifths embracing tincture by military services as a feudal system. So basically it's saying that, I guess, and from my understanding, that the feuds of it was feuds and stuff dealing with this land. So I guess whoever, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading this shit. It's saying embracing tenders by military services as a feudal system. So let me see something real quick. Give me a second, y'all. I'm just looking something up real quick. I just want to be clear on this shit. I don't like reading nothing if I don't pretty much got a proper understanding of some of these words. All right. So, all right. So it said feudalism was a combination of legal and military customs, a medieval and flourished between the 9th and 15th century, broadly defined in a way of structuring society around relationships derived from holding of land in exchange for services or labor. Okay. Okay, so it was a way of structuring society around relationships derived from holding of land in exchange for services of labor. Okay, let me see again. All right, feudal system. Say in the feudal system, a peasant or a worker known as a vassal, received a piece of land in return for serving of lord or king, especially during times of war. Vessels were expected to perform various duties in exchange for their own fifth. Of area land. Okay. So, like I said, a lot of this shit right here, even when you read it, vassals, and all this shit is dealing what law is that? Um, Maritime law and all that other shit. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff all that stuff you hear about, your strawman and all that stuff. All this stuff is kind of dealing with all this. They just basically just found they just found more ways to really put you up under subjugation of that. All right. So let me continue with this. All right. So it say this incumbent, with any superior for Jefferson and many others, the normal conquest had produced only a temporary exception to English tradition, liberty and allodial ownership rather than a permanent reduction in rights. Further, even with the respect of the feudal institution introduced by William the Conqueror. British land law had involved, and the point that it evolved rather than developing through pronouncement from from on high is important into a complex set of arrangements that enable individuals to engage in a wide range of property transactions. Land originally held of the king and transferred from generation to generation only by the king grace became a commodity that the owner could sell or leave land to his heirs without permission of the crown. It say by the 1700s, the evolution of the English property towards more marketable forms have reached the point that the idea of individuals having freehold estate in land independent of government was both philosophically well grounded in natural law and practically established in property law. Okay. Evolution was not inevitable. How did the English property law come to evolve in this direction? There was nothing inevitable about the evolution towards property rights. As Russian demonstrate pipes, it say has documented how Russian property rights was under the sustained assault of the terrorists. I'm sorry, autocracy. I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing that wrong. It say leaving Russians dependent on central government, Fairburns. It say rather than the independent of the state. There was no grand liberal design by the English aristocrat. It say behind the evolution of property rights. It's saying England. Rather, the two factors appear critical. First, the English crown was relatively poor and so dependent on a aristocrat for regular support. Even successful English monarchs like Elizabeth I struggled for funds. Now we're going to deal with this. This shit is come working right on into what I want to work on to. All right, it say struggle for funds. Elizabeth, for example, left her successor James I a virtual empty treasury containing only, I guess that, I don't know, a pound or 200 pounds. It's saying 3,000 dresses. It say crucially, it was not England that was short of resources, but the monarch, indeed James, coming from impoverished Scotland, termed his arrival in England a Christmas time because of a far greater wealth he found there. It say this dependence forced even abolish England monarchs such as Swartz to summon paramount. They say and regularly concede power to them simply to obtain the resources necessary to rule. Okay. Second, England had a competitive system of courts. Multiple jurisdictions existed, including common law and equity courts, merchant courts, and canyon law courts, each seeking business from litigations. The competition beds independence, giving litigation a fairer chance against the crown in litigations. It say then in many other European states. Further, the competition among courts. See now, look. That's why they got all these courts now, because England still rule the United States, and they try to sit up there and bullshit you and telling you, well, you know, then they just try to, listen, this shit is all smoking guns, man. It's all, that's why when motherfucking Queen Elizabeth and her fucking funny ass fucking children come here or whatever, that's why they make a big spectacle about it. You understand? That's why they make such a big spectacle about it. And by him marrying that bitch, that mulatto bitch or whatever, by him marrying her, that has some type of connection dealing with this land that we don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? Because the person, I guess, had to be an Aborigine. Hold on for 1 second, y'all. Yeah, that's why they made such a big spectacle about that, though. But you find it ironic that as I'm reading through this, they keep talking about courts and feudal systems and allodial, and a lot of this, like a lot of people be trying to get the allodial title to the land so they can basically keep the land, and they could basically not pay property taxes. All right, but yo, man, just as I read this, man, you'll pretty much understand what the title is, what the title of this video is. All right, so let me just make sure. All right, so it said among courts allow lawyers opportunity. That's why most lawyers in America, what is the motherfucking the bar, the British Accredited Registry. Why if you're a lawyer in America, why do you need a bar card? You know what I'm saying? Why do you need a bar card? British Accredited Registry. Why? Okay, why? You think about it. Now think about this. It says among courts allow lawyer opportunities to develop tactics brought their clients greater security of property rights. Indeed, legal historians agree that the primary fact focus in medieval common law was land. It say landlords. It say what William Camden and a Swartz period historian summed up, saying the declaring of the men, I guess men, it say antiums, it say mines and tying. It say it's very object of the law of England. Okay, it says the result of this combination was a supremacy of law. Parliament, courts, and lawyers regularly pushed the boundaries of royal power backs, expanding liberty by protecting property rights in pursuit of the resolution of private conflict. The monarch needs for cash forced England's king and queen to repeatedly acquiesce in limits of their power. It say in both cases, because the land was the key form of wealth. Because the land was the key form of wealth. Okay? You niggas don't own a house. They put you in fucking the projects. They move you to an area where they wanted to move you so they can fucking do whatever they wanted to do. Let's read this again. Okay? So it say repeatedly acquiesce in the limits of their power. In both cases, because the land was the key form of wealth, the result was strengthening the property rights and steadily evolving towards higher estates, real estate. Okay, let's say the highest estate in the form in which American land came to be held among universally was the free sample. It say include rights we often take for granted today, but that we were hard-won rights of the Englishmen. It say the descents of their land, the heirs without reversion to the state, perpetual tenure. It say complete freedom to transfer by contract or by will, the ability to change the use of the property and freedom from the incident uncertain, making the state of title known at the time to transfer. The ultimate result was, as Jonathan Hughes has written, to turn the Americas, understanding the property and inside and out, the making property rights so complete that the Fifth Amendment did not even bother to specify the content of the rights it granted. All right, and I'm gonna read a little bit more of this because this is kind of lengthy motherfucking article, but this shit got a lot. It's a lengthy ass article, yo. So very lengthy. All right, so where was I at? We gonna deal with this shit though. We gonna get a lot of this shit in here, right? All right, so here we go. All right, so it said, of course, Europeans brought not only natural law justifications of property rights, but also philosophical critiques of them. Both the Jamestown colonists, we're gonna deal with him too if I have time. They say both the Jamestown colonists and the Plymouth colonists initiated an attempt to hold property in common. Now listen to this, right? Now, where did they come first? They're telling you where the English came first. In Virginia, Jamestown, and in Plymouth, which is in Massachusetts. Now, remember, these motherfuckers didn't bring no slaves with them. They did not bring no slaves with them. And when you read and you really understand, you start thinking like, hold up. When did the English bring slaves in? Because they trying to keep you confused and bombarded with all English or Europeans, such as the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, and the English. We colonized by the English here in America. And you know, if you go out to Louisiana, that has French and Spanish traditions or whatever, or Creole, whatever you want to call it, or whatever, though, because we know that the Spanish and the French was in them areas as well as in Florida. Now check this out, right? But for the most part of the Americas, when the English found these other European groups in it, they kicked them the fuck out. The French was forced out because the English said, nah, y'all get the fuck off we taking this. The fuck out of here. And then they took their people with them to motherfucking the island of Espanol, because at that point in time, Spanish still had dominion over that land. Okay? Why do you think the English didn't want Haiti? But they took the other British Isles. They let them have that little island and kept the rest of the British Isles. They let them have Cuba and Haiti, and they took everything else. They took Jamaica, Guyana. They took all that shit. How you think East Indian slaves came to Guyana? Because the English brought them there. When they went to India and did what they did in India, they brought the motherfucking East Indians and dropped them off in Guyana. Okay, now that's totally different from what I'm telling you, or them bringing Africans, because they was not dealing with Africans like that, because they didn't even have access to get to Africa, because they was warring with Portuguese, French, France, and Spain. You understand what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, you got to really learn this history. We really got to understand that the English did not bring slaves to the point to where we think they brought slaves. They were enslaving the people here and moving them throughout their colonies. They had colonies in the West Indies. That's why they were sending us from the Americas to the West Indies and then bringing you back. That's all they was doing. That's what the fuck they was doing. All these boats that we keep on looking for, they was building boats here because they had shipyards here from all of the land, all the trees that they was chopping out. They was building boats here. The boats was built here. Okay? Now, understand this too. When you start talking about steamboats and all these other boats that was going up and down the Mississippi River, they was taking you from the Mississippi out to the Caribbean too. Yo, I do this shit, man. So like I said, man, I study this shit. I do this shit. I've been doing this shit well. I don't have to, I can do, I stand alone with this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all the Aborigine brothers who I am cool with or whatever, though. But for the most part, like I said, man, you have to really understand this history. Because when we talk about that, the slave trade didn't exist, I don't tell you the slave trade didn't exist. I just say, let's take that word slave and put POW on it, and you'll understand it a little bit better. Because your brain is automatically programmed to recognize slaves as Africans and automatically programmed to recognize Negroes as African. When these niggas tell you, Oh, they got an African burial. It's not an African burial. It's a Negro burial ground. Now, why would the English use the word Negro? Because when the English took over the West Indies, the Spanish already was calling them people, the Arawaks and all them Negroes. That's the reason why when Columbus took people back to, when you read the book Slave from Seville and you start reading the Jesuit letters and you see that Columbus took people from the island of Espanol back to motherfucking Spain. They called them Negro de Terras. Why did they call them Negro? Because the Spanish was already calling them Negro. Yo, my bad, y'all. Shit. Yo, peace, 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 peace. My bad, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. I just got a couple calls telling me my sound was like. Just hold on for 1 second, y'all. Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, I just got this. You called me telling me my sound is out. Nah, I mean, yeah, you know what? It's this fucking microphone I be using. This shit just be like, if I press it, this shit'll go out, yo. I'm gonna send you a link, yo. What's good with you? Anything good? All right, no doubt. Let me get back to. I'm gonna send you a link in a minute. All right. All right, no doubt. All right, peace. Yeah, Chief, I just sent Chief Holiday a link. Let me see something. All right, let me go back in the chat, yo. Sorry about that. I gotta start checking this shit. I be getting so caught up in reading this shit to the point to where. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Press 1 to let me know whether or not y'all can hear me. Let me see something. No sound, no sound, no sound, no sound. Let's say sign into the chat. How they telling me to sign into the chat? The fuck? All right, y'all. I'm back though. I'm back. I see my thing moving though. Let me see something. All right, so we good. All right, bet. I'm sorry about that, y'all. I'm gonna go back from the top, man. I don't know where I left off at, but I'm gonna go back. Basically, what I was pretty much reading. Then I don't know where the fuck I left off at though, but we're gonna go back here. I'm gonna start right here. Damn. All right, so I don't know whether or not y'all got this article right here, but I'm gonna start off right here, okay? Hey, Chief Holiday, I sent you the link too, so let me know if you can hear me. Matter of fact, let me send it to Jag too real quick. Just give me a second, y'all. All right. Jag, I just sent it to you, so come on in. Sorry about that, viewers, man. Damn, I don't. It's this microphone I be using. If I hit the button on it, sometime it'll go out, y'all. So sorry about that. But let me get back into it. All right. So I kind of briefed through this. I'm gonna brief back through it real quick. It said, of course, Europeans bought not only the natural law of justifications of property rights, it say, but also philosophical critiques of them. It say both the Jamestown colonists and the Plymouth colonists initially attempted to hold property in common. It's saying Jamestown. Now, remember what I told you. Now, where the Europeans came first? They came to Jamestown. They came to Plymouth. Plymouth is is off of Massachusetts. So when they telling you Plymouth Rock landing on, they talking about the people who came to Massachusetts. Okay, remember they came to Massachusetts and came to Jamestown, Virginia first. All right, I went over that while the sound was out, but we're going to get back into a little bit more of that, all right? Because I got another article I need to really get through. I need to run through this as fast as possible. I need to be done with this in probably about another hour and a half, all right? So in Jamestown, land was to be held, managed collectively. It say each colonist to receive an equal share of the colonial product, regardless of his contribution. 2/3 of the initial 104 colonists died of starvation and disease. It say before the first winter, and population after soaring as hundreds of new colonists arrived from England. It say plummeted to 60 after the winter of 1609. When the governor Thomas Dale visited the colony of 1611, he found living skeletons bowling in the streets while fields were unattended. After Dale particularly converted the communal land into individual 3-acre tracts. It say in 1614, productivity increased sevenfold. The remaining of the communal land was privatized by 1617. Similarly, the Plymouth colonists began in 1620 to communal lands and were near starvation when the land was privatized in 1623. It say, as William Bedford noted, the change made all hands very industrial. It say, so as much more corn was planted than otherwise would have been. Taking together natural right theory, legal doctrine, and practical experience combined to give the American colonists a strong sense of role of private property rights and ensuring their survival and prosperity. All right. So completing the claim to property, it say the problem of establishing property rights in the New World resisted not only in the relationship between the individuals and monarchs, but also on the relationship between monarchs as European began exploring the continent. Competing claims to property in America quickly appeared. Not only did various native Aborigine tribes hold claims to different lands, they say, and sometimes more than one had claims a particular area. They say, but the European monarch had conflicting claims to various territories. Individual European settlers also began to assert claim based on the fact of their settlement on their own contracts with Aborigines. Okay, now remember, some of them did have contracts with us, but check this out though. All that shit kind of went south because, you know, like I said, they all benefited from the same system that was created here. That was a system of them winning and them able to establish colonies and stay here. Okay, because how do somebody come to your land and automatically claim your land like that when it's people living on the land? All right, so it says desiring to avoid conflicts over the new territories, the European power reached an accord dividing much of the Americas. Now, they divided much of the Americas among them. Spain and Portugal negotiated. Now, this is the part y'all probably didn't hear. Now, look, when you read the Jesuit letters, right, you read that soon as Columbus came here, boom, when Columbus come here, the Portuguese try to do the same thing. Now, understand this, right? Because Portugal and Spain is so close to Africa, they was going to Africa too. But you would think that if these motherfuckers knew about Mansa Musa and they knew about all these stories about all this gold in Africa, why the fuck didn't they stay there? Why would they come here? Why would they come here? Because it was bullshit. They already knew about El Dorado. And when I get the Sir Walter Raleigh article, you're going to find out about this shit, right? So look, so when Columbus came here, the Portuguese came here, and Spain and Portugal were basically fighting over the fucking land, right? So what happened was Pope Alexander stepped in and said, all right, well, we're going to split the land up. You take certain places like what we call Puerto Rico, Brazil, which the Portuguese had Puerto Rico, Brazil, and certain other places throughout the throughout South and the Caribbean. Then Spain has certain colonies as well, right? So it's a partial territory based on the division by Pope Alexander. European powers more generally recognize a role of discovery, granting the European power that first found a new land the right to determine how to acquire the land from the native inhabitants. Okay, now we're gonna start getting into this shit. It says whether by conquest, mean by conquering, or contracts. What contract are you under today? It say the implementation of this principle varied from country to country. Britain generally prohibited individuals from making their own bargains with native people, while France permitted such bargains. Okay, so it's telling you that Britain generally prohibited individuals from making their own bargains with the native people. That's mean treaties. Okay, bargains is treaties, bro. So it say while France permitting, despite the claim to the right based on the discovery, British colonists also acquired land by contract. It say, for example, almost all of Massachusetts was acquired by a purchase from local tribe, which is bullshit. They took over. We know what they did, because when you start hearing about King, what you think King Philip War was about? Them taking the fucking land. It say the primary exception there, Salem and Boston, it say was uninhabited areas, which is bullshit, having been depopulated earlier by the disease. The colonists, anytime they say it haven't been early depopulated, they're not telling you that they was warm with these people. And when you start hearing Salem and Boston, the Salem witch hunt, we talking about people who was going in the whole villages and burning down the villages while people were asleep. This is a story you hear when you start understanding this shit. The colonists didn't trust the Aborigines, so in that case, what they was doing was basically raiding the same shit. When I was in the other videos I was talking about, they was raiding a lot of these so-called areas, just like when these lynchings was being done, how 4,000 motherfucking Europeans had just bum rush the fucking city and grab one person in Plymouth and Pilgridge and do all the shit that they did in Black Wall Street. This is the same shit they was doing back then. Okay, now. They say, all right, say, although the British Crown claimed the sole right to negotiate transfer of the land rights from the Native American, most colonists thought otherwise of regularly made individual arrangements and various tribes to secure the land. Such contracts led to one of the seminal cases in American land law. They say Johnson versus McIntyre in 1823. Now remember, this is well after the motherfucking fact of them being here, bro. This is fucking 200 years. They get said when they got Plymouth in 1620 or whatever. And when you see 1620, this is when you start seeing them warring with these people. This is when the first Pequot War broke out, around that time. Okay, and what was the war over? The land. That's it. Over them taking the land. Okay, so it's 1823. Supreme Court opinion of Chief Justice John Marshall that is still a foundation stone of the law school property classes. Although Marshall unfortunately sided with the state over the individual in that case, the principle of self-initiation land transaction proved hard to eradicate and continue as a means of establishing private property rights well into the 19th century as the frontier moved westward. All right, it say as noted, while European settlers brought their own ideas about property to America, they also encountered something new here: vast tracts of futile land. They say to acquire a parcel, one needed only to head west past the settler's edge. See, the head west past settler means they could claim land. It say find a desirable spot, possible contract with a local tribe, and then build a farm. Instead of European scarcity, America offered abundance in 1800s, and English laborer had to spend a third of his income to rent 10 acres. It say while the American farm laborer could rent the same amount with 1% of his income. Real quick, just to touch on something real quick, right? Listen. Now it's telling you head west, right? Now, where them fires is being at in the West, in California, most of them people they own fucking land, bro. They not telling you this shit. Where them fires is being placed at in California, Them fires are an area, them lands that you see when them Europeans is being burnt out at, them people own them lands because them people went there and established that shit. Like I said, they went west. And they, like, if you was to go past the colonization and set up your own farms and create your own colony, then you own that land. You understand what I'm saying? But now let's keep it moving. All right, so it say the abundance was not costless. It say even if no cash had changed hands. Property law casebook used in the first year of law school often begin with a quote from John Locke. It's a second treaty. In the beginning of all the world was America. It's a most often as a way of introducing the question of how property rights are established. However, Locke's point was not that America was unowned, but that property value depended on that being a means of storing value to encourage trade in a world without money, right? In a world without money, y'all keep that in mind. It say he asked, what value would there be even for the best land? What would a man value 10,000 and 100,000 acres say of excellent land, readily cultivated, as well stocked to with cattle? It's in the middle of inland parts of America where he had no hope of commerce with other parts. Now think about what he's saying is telling you about us. We ain't need no commerce. So why would we sell anybody anything? Why would motherfuckers, Indians sell somebody Massachusetts or Manhattan? Why would somebody sell somebody Manhattan? They took the shit. They didn't sell you nothing. They lied and they fucking took it. Why? If you don't have no value, why would you see what happened was a small colony probably came. And then we probably was like, man, you know what, man? Y'all can have that little land right there, man. And then you start seeing more colonies to where eventually the shit started to kind of like it was a conflict of interest on your life or on your well-being. So then eventually we had to say, nah, man, you got to tell your people stop coming here, yo. Tell your people stop coming here, yo, or it's on. And then eventually the war started, okay? So it probably was a few people came on a boat. We probably felt sorry for them and say, look, man, all right, you can have that little land right there or whatever. And then you start seeing more colonies come set up land. Just like right now. You know, like how a motherfucker be on the block and shit, and how niggas out there hustling, and then, you know, you start to block up, and then you see more motherfuckers trying to come take the block, and then you gotta regulate. Basically, you gotta regulate by violence, by telling niggas like, nah, man, you can't be out here. And it's the same theory in dealing with this land shit. Okay, now it says, what would a man value 10,000 or 100,000 acres of excellent land? Now, what was they doing in the South? Because most of the farmers was us, okay? Now, most of your family owned farmland. When the Europeans come in there, they was chasing you off your land and keeping the fucking land. This is why the fucking KKK was established, okay? They would come, you got land, you already got cattle, you got everything going on there, and these motherfuckers will come with their hoods on, burn across and say, get off the land, boy, or we'll be back tomorrow. And then you would sit there and try to fight for your family or whatever, and then you eventually had to move west or move back north or whatever. Same concept. That's why the title is Colonization equal White Supremacy, okay? So it says 100,000 acres of excellent land, which was in the South, which was in the motherfucking South, bro. Okay? It says readily, and then what they did was they took over the land in the South and made you work on it. The motherfuckers who didn't go on the Trail of Tears. So most of our people who didn't go on the Trail of Tears, some of us who was able, but don't believe that shit, man. These Europeans were not letting nobody really be free. Either you was free by you fighting for your freedom, which eventually you was going to still become a subjugated or assimilated into their culture. Was nobody free like that as long as they wanted the land, bro. As long as they wanted what you had, even if you was free for a period of time, you was eventually going to be either either you was going to be working for them or you was going to have to negotiate something to where they was going to get what you got. All right. So It says, as well as stock too with cattle in the middle of the empire of America, where he had no hopes of commerce. Now, no hopes of commerce. Only thing you want is land and food. And look, food, fire, water, and shelter. Without money or advertisement, you don't know about cars. You don't know about the new Jordans. You don't know about these various things that they advertise through this television. You don't know about them. So if you don't know about them, what do you need? A need is basically you have a need for what you would call let's say nutrients. You need water to stay hydrated, to keep your cells and everything hydrated. You need nutrients from the soil, which is selenium, magnesium, manganese, the numerous different amino acids, or vital amino acids, the numerous different substances, gold, silver, copper. You need these things, okay, that come from the earth. Where did these people come and find this shit at? Here. They came here and found this shit, okay? So, all right, so it's a commerce with other parts of the world. It's a to draw money to him by the sale of the product. It's a it would not be worth the enclosing. See, they had to create a system. If there's no system where you need money to spend money, they had to create one by making you part of it. If you was not part of the system, then therefore the system was not going to thrive. How does this system thrive today? Because you are in middle of all this shit. So if you write a bubble and put the American Negro in the middle, and then you write sub bubbles. Oh, this group of people, what do they own? Oh, the Jews own the land. This group of people, what do they own? Oh, the Korean people own the hair. Oh, this group of people, what do these people own? Etc., 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 etc. These people come here, West motherfucker from Mid-Eastern people come here and take over your fucking culture, which is fucking soul food. They got soul food places popped up on every fucking corner. The same thing when I'm starting to see with all these Dominican barbershops. Niggas don't even patronize black barbershops no more because these Dominicans just coming here putting barbershops up everywhere. And ain't nobody stopping saying, yo, bro, like, yo, y'all getting out of hand with this shit, bro. Like, really, we know it's capitalism, but y'all niggas is being disrespectful because you just starting to say, well, fuck it, we can cut hair better than you can, so therefore we're gonna open a barbershop everywhere. Oh, therefore bro, this shit gets go on and on and on. Let me keep it going, man. All right. So it say it would not be worth in closing, and it say, and we should see him give up give up again to the wild comment of nature. It say whatever was more than would supply the conveniencies of life, It say to be had there for him and his family. What? See, yo, this article, this little paragraph right here pretty sums it up in a nutshell right there. I could have just read that paragraph and really elaborated on that. It say only then did Lockley say, thus in the beginning of the world was America, and more so than that is now. For not such thing as money was anywhere known. It say find out something that use the value of money among his neighbor, you shall see the same man will begin presently to enlarge his possessions. Okay, so what's a possession? These people come here, they see that you found things in the earth which we call gold. You found things in the earth, you basically sculptured them to become gold, and you started making bracelets out of them. You started making earrings and started making chains and everything. When they came here, they found that of some value, so they took it from you and sold the shit, and then they found more of it and said, yo, we can do the same thing. They had to create a system first for the gold to be worth something. You have to create a system first for the land to be worth something. Aborigine who don't want none of this shit, he don't give a fuck about no money. I got food. I live next to a lake. I live next to numerous animals where I can eat. I'm good. I don't need. What do I need that for? What do I need that for? So you overstand that shit. All right. So it's a grass of Aboriginal society was questionable. It say, for as he noted earlier, there is an ample evidence that Indians had both well-developed property systems and measures of value. However, the central point that property was valuable only to the extent it would embed it in a market of economy where goods produced on it could be exchanged for another good. It is critical to understand the role of property. Of property in the economics. Now, he's telling you right there, they have to create a system. What did Edward Bernay, which is Sigmund Freud's nephew, which wrote the book Propaganda, he's the father of advertisement, he made the first commercials, okay? So through commercials, you only see things being advertised. So if they show you a commercial with, somebody smoking or somebody selling something, then you start wanting that. Or I want that. Prior to that, you only needed things. Prior to that, you needed food, fire, water, and shelter. You needed that. You had that because you was the farmers. You was the master of working with corn. You was the master of sweet potato. Remember, we make cornmeal. We make cornmeal. What else we make with corn? Corn on the cob. We make all this shit with corn, man. We used to use the ears of corn for numerous things as well. All right, so check this out. I'm gonna finish this shit off, man. This shit is very interesting. All right, so the economical impact of secure property rights came about because property make possible positive sum transactions between individuals. Those who own property will hire labor for those who do not. They say enriching both parties. Now think about this shit, yo. Think about this shit. Everything that I'm reading, take this shit into understanding this whole market system, what you see now. Okay, and this whole and I go to school for business right now. I'm just going just for the fuck of it. All right. I'm just going just for the fuck of it. But you understand business. You understand marketing, management, accounting. You understand if I lend you something and I don't think you're going to pay me back, you're a liability. You know what I'm saying? What's my revenue is all the assets that I own. You know what I'm saying? So all my assets is revenue, which equals shares in the company. Now check this shit out, right? Now, all right, so it's enriching both parties through trade. Likewise, someone with property suited to growing apples will exchange with another whose property is suited for growing corn. Bartering systems, and is likely to do so on the property of a third person that is suited on at a convenient crossroad between the apple and orchard and cornfield. Now check this out. What is the United States? A corporation with corporations which use the corporations as trading points to where you can no longer barter. The mom and pop stores was bought out by big stores like Walmart and these other big what the fuck they call these words? I can't get the word out, man. But you understand what I mean. You understand what I'm saying? All of these companies, this is what the United States was created from because they had to make a system to where they can benefit from it, all right? So remember, colonization equal white supremacy. Land of abundance in America also offered an important limit on power of government. Fixed assets such as land had traditionally been vulnerable and exploited. Let me make sure y'all can hear me, man, because this is a heavy joint right here, y'all. Let me see something. I don't know. Hold on, let me see. Chief and Jag, y'all still can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro. Good.
Yeah. All right. But peace to the brothers, man. Glad you brothers came through.
Peace to the guys.
All right, real quick. Hold up. Let me see something. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, because I just took it off of the what's the name. So far reading this, what do you get out of it? What did you guys gather so far? Because I got a lot more to go on, bro. This is just a fidget. I just got caught up pretty much in this article right here to give an explanation, though. But so far, reading hearing what you're reading, I mean, hearing what I'm reading so far, and I'm pretty much laying the case out for how they came here, took the land, how they made the land needy, how they made you basically relying upon a system in which they created. When the system, you had the system. How did you lose the system? You lost the system through violence and wars. You understand what I'm saying? You wouldn't. Why you buying corn when you was the farmer? Why you buying tomatoes when you was the farmer? Why you buying sweet potatoes when you was the farmer? Why you buying cotton when you was the cotton cropper? You understand? So, let me see something. All right, so let me get back into it real quick though. We're gonna talk about this. All right, so land abundance in America also offered an important limit on power of government. Fixed assets such as land has traditionally been vulnerable and expropriated and confiscatorial taxation because it is hard for their owners to escape the state grasp. See, the state grasp, which is you. It say in colonial America, excess taxes could be readily evaded by moving west. What I told you that's the reason why they burning that land down in California, bro, because they probably gonna sell that shit to the Chinese or something, bro. And they moving them people off of that land. Them are white people they doing that shit to, because they own the fucking land. They can't get taxed for it. Okay, it say in colonial America, excess taxes could be readily evaded by moving west, because property owners could move more readily than they could in Europe. America government was constrained to the ability to tax. Okay, that's why they don't want you to be tax exempt. America vastness also offend enormous opportunities for land speculation, and our enemy of the state. Libertarian writer Albert J. Nock wrote that land speculations may be put down as the first major industry established in colonial America. So what did they do? They came here and established the land first, and then they brought people here and made them subjects of them owning the land. And once you a subject, then you automatically all in, unless you did what they said. You moved out west. You got away from their control. Okay, so it say while speculations could serve an entrepreneurial role, rewarding those who see possibilities in undeveloped land, it can also all too often become yet another exercise in political rent seeking. Unfortunately, in many cases, land speculation in the New World were able to turn the government to gain access to land resources or to locate valuable states institutions in such a way as to increase a value to their land. Okay, now who's the landlord? A Jew. If they hated the Jews that much, how the fuck the Jews own the land? These, as diabolical as these people is, how did if they hated them that much and they persecuted them before, how do they own the land? Because they are the same fucking people. So it's a properties on the frontier. English properties concept and law thus survived the transplant to American soil. Okay, indeed, they did more than survive. They thrived. As settlers pushed further west into new territories, they was faced with the problem of establishing property rights. Far from civilization, they did so repeatedly, expanding first the colonies and ultimately the United States westward, which is a corporation. Okay, as Jonathan Hughes put in, cutting settlements into the wilderness primarily by privately motivated frontiermen making small family farms acquired by purchasing or homesteading. Okay, we almost done with this. It say after the American Revolution, the new federal government faced the problems of determining how to govern the Western territories, the states ceded to it. They say although it took until after the Civil War, 1812, no, to after the War of 1812 to finalize settlements, all the United States land claimed with Britain. It say even before then, American territory was advancing through the 1803 Louisiana Purchase. Now look, they telling you, see how they was able to get the British off their back by giving the British a percentage of them making shit here. That's the reason why they tell you all the gold go to Queen Elizabeth. Jefferson devised a system for a new land embodied first in the ordinance of 1784, it's saying, and then in the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Not only did the ordinance create a mechanism by which territories could become states and also explicitly guarantee property rights following English law, the Northeast Ordinance provided the intergenerational land transfer both by will and by contract. It say with provisions that took into account that the frontier difficulties in registering deeds with distant officials. Okay, so you register your deed of your land with the people who was official. They say the ordinance also promised the utmost good faith towards the Aborigines, including within that term, that their land and property shall never be taken from them without their consent. Let's read this one more time. The ordinance also promised the utmost good faith towards the Indians, including within that term, that their land and property shall never be taken from them without their consent, and in their property rights and liberty, they shall never be invaded or disturbed unless unjust and lawful was authorized by Congress. You hear that shit? Let's read that again. Yo, I don't even want to read it again, but you guys are already fuck it. Let's read that. I'm gonna read that one more fucking time. Fuck that. All right. All right. So the ordinance also promised that the utmost good faith towards the Indians, including within that term, that their land and property shall never be taken from them without their consent, and in their property rights and liberty, they shall never be invaded or disturbed unless in just and lawful wars authorized by Congress. Okay, now check this out. Wait, we're going to get to that. I ain't saying nothing else. We're going to get to that. All right. Like many aspirations of the new nation, the Northwest Ordinance promised the fair treatment of Native or Aborigines were ultimately unfulfilled. Okay, the division of the land in Northwest Territory had its share of fraud and corruption. Ultimately, however, the combination of European nations of natural rights, the transformed and transplanted English common laws and property, and American conditions led to the land distribution into private hands, with secure treaties formed the basics for the expansion of free society westward. All right, when the modern Peruvian economist Herman DeSanto, Peruvian economist Herman DeSanto, set out to discover why some nations were rich and some was poor. He found that the legal and economical expert he consulted could not satisfactorily explain the success of the West. One reason he determined was what he termed the missing lessons of American history. It say these lessons was not simply America, however, but universal lessons from history, universal lessons. So this shit is worldwide. You know what I'm saying? From history, what DeSanto discovered was that the expert had failed to recognize the centrality of secure property rights in the development of the United States and West in general. Rather, they mistakenly believed that prosperity grew out of the trinkets of regulation and rules that exist today. Recapturing those missing lessons is important if we were to avoid the inadvertently destroying the foundations of our freedom and prosperity. What then are the lessons of colonial expert with property rights? All right. It say the first sample, property matter. The second is power of idea of property rights, derived from British law and natural rights philosophy, develop into stronger, more effective guarantees of liberty over time. Now remember, it say develop in stronger and more effective guarantees of liberty over time. First in Britain and then in America. The idea introduced into a law involved beyond their original limit scope through the gradual expansion of property rights ultimately produce a significant force for liberty. All right. It's a third, the institution that facilitates positive sum transaction flourish. Such institutions produce peaceful and prosperous society, a combination that is no accident. Property rights instantiates no particular vision of how property is to be used, leaving that the individual property owner to determine through damn, I'm getting brain freeze, my bad. Through voluntarily transactions and reducing social conflict over resources. Individual ownership in turn creates a powerful incentive. Remember that. It's a for entrepreneurs who envision a new, more valuable use for a piece of property may purchase it and realize the gain change occurs peacefully in such circumstances because it is a byproduct of trade rather than the results of the decisions of our autocrats. It say that peace and prosperity flow from property is the ultimate lesson, one that too few remember today. All right, and that's the end of that. All right, so let's go right into this, man. And go right into this, man. I got a lot to read. I gotta try. I'm probably gonna have to make 2 parts of this because I'm gonna go. You know what? Let me see something. No, I'm gonna bang this out real quick.
Go in, bro.
In Search of El Dorado, the fascinating life of Sir Walter Raleigh. It's a born to Protestant family, divine English in 1552. Sir Walter Raleigh was not only a prolific writer, poet, and courtier of the Virgin Queen. Remember, Virginia is named after her. It's but also a commendable explorer, knighted by Queen Elizabeth I in the year 1585 and recognized nationwide for numerous talent. Raleigh is now remembered as the man who laid his cloak around the muddy pool so that His Majesty could cross it without getting her feet dirty. Okay, remember that, motherfucker, a dancing with distress and shit, man. A woman need to remember how, you know, how they show the motherfucking man and shit take his jacket off so the woman can step over the puddle. He's the one who basically originated that, because they said he had once done that for Queen Elizabeth. So Sir Walter Raleigh and his son in 1602. So this is the image of him. Remember, first colony. in America. All right. So Raleigh had faced extreme difficulties from his childhood when he was a boy. His family suffered greatly, suffered greatly trying to outrun the Roman Catholic Church that flourished under the rule of Mary First of England. It say in 1569 he joined troops of subduing civil uprising in France, but eventually returned to pursue his education and undergraduate in the well-known Oriel College, Oxford. Many such events, such as his successful abortion of the Irish Rebellion, followed that showed by his ambition, skills, and that ultimately culminated in him gaining favor from the Virgin Queen. All right. Check this out. All right. The first hint of the long life career, selling with his half brother Humphrey Gilbert to America in 1578. Now here we go, y'all. It's turned out to be the first of many expeditions he would undertake. Therein, after 2 attempts, he managed to set up a British colony on Roanoke. Some people call it Roanoke, I don't know, Roanoke Island, under the governance of John White. But after he sailed back to England and got delayed in returning, the colonists disappeared. And today their settlement is known popularly as the lost city of Roanoke Island. They say, but the people of America honor him by naming the state capital North Carolina Raleigh, okay, as Raleigh, okay, after this bastard. Okay, they say, moreover, Raleigh County and West Virginia and Mountain Raleigh in the British Columbia, they say, are named after him. All right, let's continue. They say, but all of this work and galantness, it say of his was thrown to the wind when Queen Elizabeth found out that he had secretly married one of his ladies in waiting, Elizabeth Throckmorton. It say, and imprisoned them both in the Tower of London. He regained his reputation by capturing the incredible treasure laden ship. Look, by capturing the incredible treasure laden ship, meaning, remember, check this out, okay? His cousin was Sir Francis Drake and John Hawkins, okay? When that first ship that Spoiler came into America into Virginia in 1619, that was a remnant of John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake stealing motherfucking gold from the Spanish. They was not bringing slaves here. They captured these people. They bought the fucking, they was capturing the ships as, because they already knew. But when we get into the second paragraph, you're going to know. I'll explain it a little further then. All right, so it said he gained his reputation by capturing the incredible treasure laden ship Madeira I can't pronounce that. It say, and presenting it to the queen. Some historians believe that it was when his obsession with gold started. Okay, yo, I do this shit, y'all. I do this shit, and yeah, I gotta give a fucking tap on my back because I do this shit. Now check this out: the law of gold in the year 1594, the first hint of the extinction of the first hint of the extinction of the city of gold reached him. He reads the accounts of several people, including Gonzalo Pizarro and Francisco Lopez and Francisco de Orellana. It say that described an exploration of the Amazon basin and the lower Orinoco. It say by the time he decided to embark on a voyage to Guyana, it say he had become sure of the existence of El Dorado. That it say the city that contained immeasurable wealth, and with the double Manoa in his book, The Discovery of Guyana, it's a Raleigh recounts that it was the account of a Spanish by the name of Juan Martinez, who was serving at the time as master of mutant. It say to the Diego Ordaz, the Knight of Order of Santiago, which provided the proof that he needed. Now check this shit out, y'all. This shit, the plot thickens. All right. Martinez, Raleigh believed, was the first European to find El Dorado. The story was that Martinez, fearing execution due to mismanagement of some ornaments, sorry, it say that was supposed to be in charge of set out in a canoe down the Orinoco, and was rescued by native. Now listen, now this is when they tell you that these people found black natives. This is the story of so-called Columbus man when they talk about this right here, the Orinoco. It say and was rescued. This is when they tell you that these men that was on a canoe was black. They ain't gonna tell you in this one, but this is the story where you get that from. It's saying and was rescued by native. He took him to Manoa and the seat of their emperor. It say after several months of living there, Martinez was sent back to his land, laden heavily with gifts of gold, which were eventually robbed off of him. Now they look robbed off. They was robbing motherfuckers for this shit. Cause when they got here, nigga, we was dipped out, nigga. Just like right now, the only niggas who you see wearing motherfucking gold on their body is motherfucking Negroes, and that's it. Because we are them people. We are them people. Yeah, you see other people doing it, but they implementing. They trying to be like us. Same shit. Okay, so. I say, but Raleigh was not too dogmatic. It say in his beliefs, either he reached out to various people connecting with the story and was told with solid proof that left absolutely no room for doubt. In his mind, at least, then he set sail to the New World in 1595 in search for Manoa. It say in reality, he had another more significant objective. It say he wanted to weaken Spanish colonization to South America and build British influence there. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. One more time. He wanted to weaken Spanish colonization in South America and build British influence there. If there was one thing that Raleigh had no qualms about Satan, it was his contempt towards the Spanish. In the discovery of Guyana, he never forgets to insert a jab or a wary. It's a comparison to his Spanish friends. Okay. They say, although he gave exaggeration reports of gold he found in Guyana, it say when he went back to England, he was not successful. He was not successful in finding Manoa. Yet silently, his beliefs in his existence was not sinking. In 1600s, he was appointed governor of Channel Island in Jersey and focused on improving defense of administration. Once again, Raleigh was struck by a bout of bad luck when Queen Elizabeth died in 1603. Her successor, King James I, son of Mary, Queen of Scots. Okay, here we go. These are Negroes. All these is Negroes. All right, all these is Negroes, Europeans that basically set us up for failure. It say was not quite ready to be favorably disposed towards him. In fact, King James was a platonic nature eager to amend relations with the Spanish. His first step was accusing Raleigh of treason and throwing him once more into the Tower of London. They say his only concession being that was spared his life. During his imprisonment, Raleigh penned the popular histories of the world. All right. We gonna read a little bit more of this shit. Let me see something. Oh, yeah, it's a lot with this. Let me see something. It say a ray of hope appeared for Raleigh in 1616 when King James allowed him to travel a second time into Guyana in search of El Dorado in exchange for a massive fortune. It say in strict order to not attack the Spanish, but as ill luck would have it, once again his lifetime friend, a confidant, Lawrence Keymus, troops attacked a Spanish outpost on the banks of Orinoco River, defying Raleigh's order and resulting in the ultimately death of his son Walter. Okay. They say on his return to England, again empty-handed, the Spanish ambassador was angry, wanting King James to punish Raleigh for breaking the peace treaty with no other way out. King James ordered Raleigh execution. So it was on October 29th, 1618, the world saw the last violent man who transversed dangerous waters and explored enchanted lands, a man who was not afraid of going after what he believed in. All right, as they tell you. All right, there go some references. All right, so let's get to something else. All right, but pretty much I wanted to touch on that though, just Raleigh, you know what I'm saying, because he was the first one to really come to the Americas. So when we say colonization, remember this right here. And this is just a brief little understanding. Conflicts between Native Americans and colonists. Always, I like to read this, okay? Initially, the white colonists viewed the Aborigines as helpful and friendly. Now, remember the other article I read, the land. The land was key, the land and the riches, okay? That's why I wanted to read about Raleigh, because Raleigh wanted to find gold. So when you start talking about the ship that was bought from the Spanish or whatever, that John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake captured, in which first brought the first Negroes to Virginia in 1619, this is why they was doing it. They was not bringing no Africans here, bro. They was not bringing no Africans here, bro. And you find out the English wasn't. So where did these people come from? If the English is the people who in here now and they did not bring no Africans, so where these black people come from? Because they enslaved us in our own land. That article I read to you about the land and how they wanted to take the land, it all explains everything, okay? Now, look, remember, all right, it say white colonists. I'm probably gonna have to make a part 2 to this. It say white colonists view Native Americans as helpful and friendly. They welcome the native into their settlements, and the colonists willingly engage in trade with them. It say they hope to transform the tribe people into civilized Christians, though through their daily contact, the Native Americans resisted and resented the colonists' attempt to change them. Their refusal to conform to European culture angered the colonists, and hostility soon broke out between the two groups. The violence of their confrontation with Aborigines resulted in a shift of English attitude towards other races. Colonists blamed their future assimilate the Aborigines into their culture, which they did assimilate us into their culture. This is bullshit though, but I like to use it just to give you a brief understanding. It say on racial differences and begin to associate all people of color with negative characteristics. All right. So remember this thesis too. It say some Native American tribes embraced the English and their culture, because doing so brought them prestige, wealth, and a strong military ally. They participated in the English society by adopting their traditions, Okay, you lost your traditions. And therefore, your whole thing of bartering, you taught them how to barter, and then they took the system from you and took it a step further and created a bunch of systems, which is now corporations. Adopted their traditions, their tradition skills to meet military needs. What happened? What do? You join the military. What did the Revolutionary War? First man they said was Crispin Attucks, along with other black men who joined the military to fight against the so-called British, when the British is the people who own everything. If the English came from Britain or England, then wouldn't they be the same fucking people? But they were trying to get away from the same thing they put you under. That's the reason why I read that article. It was telling you about the courts, and they had all these different courts for everything, and how, the land and how they was taking the land. All of that shit is basically, all that shit applies to everything that I'm reading right here. It says the colony. At the same time, many tribes became dependent on their white allies to maintain power over tribal enemies. Okay, the two groups maintain peaceful relations as long as the Aborigines conform to English social and religious practices. Okay, keep that in mind. King Philip War marked the turning point in colonists' acceptance of Aborigines. They appreciated the success of the Aborigine allies, but they also feared it. Their distrust of their friendly tribes resulted in policies of segregation and discriminatory laws. All right, we know who under that. All right. So real quick, just a real quick letter, George Washington letter describing the killing of Native as villainy. All right, so check this out. I want to get to the part because I ain't got much time. All right, I'm going to start right here. All right, say at the time of the letter, it was written, Armstrong, an Irish immigrant, was a land surveyor. Remember, land surveyor was somebody like Lewis and Clark. It say in Pennsylvania, and a justice of peace. It say, but he wanted later to serve as a major under George Washington in the Revolutionary War. Washington's view at the time were in line with those of his peers. On an August 8th, 1769 meeting of the Council of Colonial, Virginia, resulted that no injury or violence be offered to Indians. Now check this out. It say and if hereafter it shall become a serious business proper measures may be taken for the defense of the inhabitants. It say who should be cautioned that if they wantonly draw on a quarrel with the Indians, that they will not be supported by the government. Now that's the first thing he said. Now check this shit out. It say, as an ambitious landowner, Washington did not want to upset the Indians' relationship, and so also note that it is luckily, however, that none escaped to carry the intelligence, and we, in consequence, may represent it as favorable a light as the thing will admit of having the knowledge of it confined to ourselves. Now check this out. Watch how his opinion change. All right. So right here, it says, let's also keep in mind that Washington view on the Indian relationship changed over time. Just 10 years after the letter to Armstrong in 1779. Remember, when was America found? 1776. It say he instructed Major General John Surveillance. I can't get this word out. My bad, people, y'all. It say to attack. All right, to attack the Iroquois people. He said, lay waste all the settlements around, that the country may not merely overturn, but destroy. It say in the course of carnage and annihilation of the Indian people. Washington also instructed his general not to listen to any overthrow of peace before the total ruin of their settlement is effected. So he ordered them to kill a whole motherfucking region of people. Now check this out. His anti-Indian statements were again made in 1783 when he compared Indians with wolves, saying both being beasts of prey, though they differ in shape. After a defeat, Washington troops would skin the bodies of the Iroquois. It say from the hips down and make boot tops or leggings. It say those who survived called the first president the town destroyer. Within 5-year period, 28 or 30 Seneca towns have been destroyed. Now 28. Now imagine how many people was living in each town. Or 30 Seneca towns have been destroyed. Okay. And this is the letter. Dolph Briscoe, Center of American History. All right. Let me see the second page of the letter. Let me see something. So that's the second page we got. I got one more article I want to touch on real quick. So that's George Washington, all right? Now look, let's get to this guy. All right, so Thomas Jefferson, the architect of the Indian Removal Act, okay? And remember, he was president before Andrew Jackson, all right? All right. So let's say editorial notes voters this year. It say we'll elect the 45th president state. It say this is the third in a series of 44 stories exploring past president attitudes towards Aborigines. It's a challenge and triumph regarding tribes and the federal laws and Indian policies enacted during their terms in office. Thomas Jefferson is perhaps best known for his role as a principal author of the Declaration of Independence. It say, but the third president of the United States was also the first to propose broad policies that called for the Indian Removal Act from their homelands. Okay, it says Jefferson took office in March of 1801 and served 2 terms as president in the political system that viewed tribes as international sovereign entities. During his 8 years in office, however, Jefferson pushed relentlessly for westward expansion, believing that Indian country belong in the hands of the white. It say, remember, during his 8 years in office, however, Jefferson pushed relentlessly for westward expansion, believing Indian country belong in the hands belong in white hands. James Rhonda, wrote in his 1997 book, Thomas Jefferson and the Change in the West. All right. So all this shit is related to what I just read. They say, all right, after President Jefferson exhibit a passion for land, Rhonda wrote that passion for became the central feature in the federal Indian policy. Now, what did we just read in that long ass article that I was telling you about? The first money or the first wealth was the fucking land. That was the first thing that they wanted, was the land of the wealth. Okay. Now, like I said, and this trickled all the way out until we get to the 1900s, and when you get the KKK still running people off their land. And say what Jefferson called our final consolidation or accusiation of the land east of the Mississippi River and removal of Indians to territories in West. Yet Jefferson and his contemporaries never pretended the West was empty. Rhonda wrote, in fact, they referred to it as crowded wilderness. It's a singling both concern about the indigenous population and a fantasy about the West that would fuel everything from the homesteading to the dude ranches in the coming centuries. Okay. Jefferson invented much of what we call the American West, Rhonda wrote. It say, although he never ventured west of Blue Ridge Mountain, Jefferson held on to a vision of a guarding of boundless futility, say, where the American Republic would thrive and remain forever free. Born in Virginia, 1743, Jackson gained a reputation as an attorney who defended freedom seeking slaves. All right, free. It say as a reputation defended. Remember, he owned slaves, but these are Aborigines, man. They didn't bring no slaves. They was capturing us from the time they got here, man. That's the whole thing. They wanted the land, bro. If you study the British. That's all you have to do. We speak English. The British and the English and all them motherfuckers is here. And these have been the people who bought the 380,000 slaves here. Okay? But none of this stuff I'm reading telling you that they bought any slaves, Sir Walter Raleigh. None of this stuff. When you start thinking about what they was doing, it all makes sense. They wanted the land. Okay? So he retired from law to serve on the second Continental Congress, where he quickly emerged as a leader and helpful draft the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson later served as a state legislator of governor of Virginia, minister to France, and secretary of the state under President George Washington. Now, we just read what George Washington did. Okay, now they trying to say that he was the first one, but the first one was this guy, George Washington, a member of the newly found Democratic Republican Party. Jefferson came in second to John Adams during the election of 1796 and served as vice president before being elected in the 1800s. All right, so let's read some more of this. All right, so Jefferson was known as a man of Indian enlightenment, said Gay Wilson, a senior historian at the Robert H. Smith International Center for Jefferson. Studied at Monticello Jefferson Historical Plantation Home in Virginia. It's which now operates as a museum of educational center. It's as an intellectual outside the public spheres. Jefferson sought a deeper understanding, Wilson said. From his boyhood in Virginia, he was fascinated by Indians. He said he had a curious and I can't get this word, my bad, y'all. It say he had a romantic streak within the Indians. It's caught in his imagination, so he was interested in studying them. It's beginning with them collecting language and determining their origins. But as a leader, Jefferson wrangled with conflicting interests of Indian nations and white settlers. Removal of the Indians was his answer to the question of nation security. See? Wilson said, overall, Jefferson had to do what was best for the security. In economics, he said he was pushing westward and the Indians resisted. They would have to be dealt with. Jefferson first wrote about American removal in 1776, 15 years before he was president. Frustrated by growing conflicts between the settlers and the Cherokee or Anyawanya, Tasagi, Jefferson then at work with the Continental Congress reacted harshly. Nothing will reduce those wretch so soon as pushing war into the heart of their country, he wrote. But I would not stop there. I would never cease pursuing them while one of them remained on the side of the Mississippi. Okay. In 1803, 2 years into the presidency, Jefferson was more scrutinized success. I can't pronounce that word. Sorry, y'all. It say he outlined his administration policies towards the Indians with two objections: the preservation of peace and the obtaining of land. During his presidency, Jefferson orchestrated the Louisiana Purchase, nearly doubling the size of the United States. Sent 4 groups of explorers, it say, on Western expeditions, including the famous cross-country journey of Mayweather Lewis and William Clark. Oversaw 33 treaties with Indian nations. Okay, let me check this out. Jefferson outlined this plan in the letter of William Henry Harrison, the territorial governor of Indiana, to promote this disposition to exchange lands which they have to spare, and we want. We shall push them. We shall push our trading uses and be glad to see the good and influential individual among them run in debt. It say he wrote in February 1803, we observed that when these debts get beyond what the individuals can pay, they become willingly to they become willingly to lock them over a section of land. See, the same shit the Chinese doing. This is a practice, bro. This is a practice. They try to get you in debt and then take your shit. Near the end of his presidency, it say, and as the War of 1812 approached, Jefferson offered only 2 options to Indian people. Clifford Telzer wrote in his 2009 book, American Indians / American President, Indians could be absorbed into the United States or face military obliteration. It say, look, listen to this. All right, this is where you come into play at. American Indians / American presidents, Indians could be absorbed into the United States or face military liberation. All right, now look, remember, what did they get say George Washington did? Skint these motherfuckers, man. So this horrific shit started from what they was doing to basically put the fear to get you to assimilate into the society. It say in response to the growth resistance among the Shawnee and other tribes in the Great Lake region, Jefferson in January 1809 invited native leaders to Washington. There he warned that the tribe which shall begun an unprovoked war against us we will infiltrate. It say from the earth. It say, or I guess this is another word for saying they will fucking liberate your ass from the earth. It say from the earth or drive to such a distance as they shall never again be able to strike us. All right. It say in time you will be as we are. Jefferson told them, you will become one people with us. Your blood will mix with ours. Listen, it say in time you will become as we are. Jefferson told them, you will become one people with us. Your blood will mix with ours, and we will spread with ours over the great land. Jefferson left office in 1809 and was succeeded by James Madison. He died in 1826 at the age of 83. Okay, and with that, I conclude this and get a couple of commentary real quick. What you think about that, Chief?
Yo, man. Hey, man. Thank you, man. We definitely appreciate all the information and stuff that you be digging up, man. And last time I checked, I mean, it's only you and a couple other guys that really be digging deep, man, and grabbing a lot of this information, man. So we definitely appreciate you on that. My battery died, just came back, so I missed a lot. But it was one. I just you know me, man. Every time I hear something, I always try to, just kind of sift through the words, you know what I'm saying? So knowing the etymology of words and stuff like that. So, I always try to be careful of the words that they're writing in the picture that they're trying to paint for us. You know what I'm saying? I remember you had told, you were going through the census and you showed that Indian wasn't on the census. But during those time periods, they'll say Indians to describe the indigenous people instead of saying Aborigines or certain things. So, and that means something. Y'all follow me? That absolutely means something. Words matter. You know what I'm saying? Even when they say Black Lives Matter, right? Even in that concept, Black lives, Black words matter. See what I'm saying? So when they're talking about certain time periods and certain people, they're going to put words that will politically empower them or paint a certain picture in your head. So when we're going back and forth with these people, they could read the same thing you're reading, but their word spells, y'all follow me? Their word spells will make them see it in the opposite way that we're reading and seeing it. You see what I'm saying, bro?
Okay, I got you. I mean, yeah, no doubt.
So that's because we do it all the time. Like we can talk to people after reading something or them hearing this, right? And they would still see it from a different perspective. Oh, well, George Washington was dealing with Indians. Well, George Washington was Indian.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Or Negro, because they wasn't, you see, Negroes first, then change the Indians, and then they were going back and forth with these names. And we shout out to Curry Mayo. He shows you in real time with a brother, real family history. And a lot of us can go back and show our family history where they were changing the names of your personal family. Because on your birth certificate is or say for instance, on your birth certificate is African American, your mamas or daddies would be Negro, their mamas or daddies would be colored, so on and so forth. You go back, right? Why are they changing the names? The same way to put themselves into political power. And I feel like once we can start breaking these word spells, that would start, awakening. The awakening would happen even quicker because once we can start breaking those word spells down. So definitely, like I said, I definitely appreciate it, man. And the information that you bring in there is definitely dope. Next level. Ooga.
No doubt. Yeah, but pretty much that's what all this shit is about is land. That's the reason why no one is land. That's why no one own land, because by as long as you pay for the land, they gets told you. I just read 4 different articles that basically gets put you in the perspective of what really was done. So when I say colonization is white supremacy, I'm just showing you of even when we say Europeans, the Europeans got their foot on your neck. And even, what I'm saying, with learners history, you still see like the only thing you probably can do at this point in time is just try to reclaim back who you was prior to them putting you under or having you assimilate with their society, because that was the main thing they wanted to do, was have you assimilate into their society. You know what I'm saying? I seen last night, I'm watching SportsCenter right now while I talk or whatever, and I see Kyrie Irving got a feather in his head. Okay, this is the 3rd time I seen him with that shit in his head, of him having a feather in his head. He is telling you something. He ain't got no manga lawyers in his family, but I bet you one thing that he got in common with all of us, he could say he got white people in his family. Because what did Thomas Jefferson get say? One more time before we get up out of here. I'm gonna read this one more time. It says, in time, you will be as we are. You will become one of the people. You will become one people with us. Your blood would mix with ours and will spread with ours over the great land. What did Thomas Jefferson own? Indian slaves. What did Thomas Jefferson do? Okay, what did he do? The slaves he talking about that he was defending was the Aborigines. That's why he said he had affiliation with them, because he knew that these people was Indians that was enslaved. That's why he was fighting for them, because he knew that they was in. And then over the time, once the United States, which is a corporation, was, and then they wanted to take the land, then everything else broke out. See, all this shit happened prior to them wanting to take the land. When they formed the corporation and said, nah, we're going to take this land. We need the land. We need the land for us to be able to do what we're going to do. If we don't get the land, then we can't do nothing. Because the land, if they hold the land from you and make you pay for the land, then you build riches from that. If I take this land right here and put you on, knowing that people from Europe want to come here, and then in fact of knowing that you want to come here, when I'm gonna do it, say, all right, well, I'm taxing you for this land, so you gonna have to pay me. So by you paying me, you pushing my riches up, and by you pushing my riches up, I'm able to control everything else around you, the food, the water, every motherfucking thing. So, you know, it all evolved into what you see now. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Definitely with that being said, man, you know, learn your culture and learn exactly what happened over here. Like I said, you can't fix today if you don't go back in tomorrow and take a look at what was done here, because we get all these stories and these love stories about, oh, well, nah, you just heard it. You just heard what it was about. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, I got to get up out of here. I got some things I got to go do. I got some things I got to do, man. So y'all already know how this shit go. Bro.
Yo, hey, before we get out here, I want to read The Folly of Colonization by Frederick Douglass in 1894. So just let me know when you're ready. Are you ready right now?
Go ahead, let's go.
We kind of go along with a lot of the stuff that we talking about, y'all. So if y'all haven't, it's a little clip from this. Hold on a second, y'all. Yeah, this is from 1894, The Folly of Colonization. Folly, you understand what folly is, right? 1 second, y'all. Here we go. So, Frederick Douglass, quote, "We have a fight on our hands right here, a fight for the redemption of the whole race, and a blow struck successfully for the Negro in America is a blow struck for the Negro in Africa. For until the Negro is respected in America, he need not expect consideration elsewhere. All this native land talk, however, is nonsense. The native land of the American Negro is America. His bones, his muscles, his sinews, aka his swag, are all American." End quote. The Folly of Colonization, 1894. Your boy Fred Douglass, the ancestor of the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson. The truth is in the building, y'all. Ooh.
All right, you know what? Real quick, because you skipped some parts of it, so I'll run through it real quick. It say, "Now I hold that the American Negro owe no more to the Negro in Africa. It say that he owes the Negro in America." It say there are millions of needy people over there, but there are also millions of needy people over here as well. And the millions in America need intelligent men of their own numbers to help them. It say as much intelligent men are needed in Africa to help people. Besides, we have a fight on our hands, a fight on our hands right here. It say a fight for the redemption of a whole race. A blow struck successfully for the American Negro is a blow struck successfully for the Negro in Africa. It say for until the Negro is respected in America, he needs not expect consideration elsewhere. It say as this native as this native land talk, however, is nonsense. The native land of the Negro, of the American Negro, is America. His bones, his muscles, and his sinew, as Chief said, his swag, are all American. Okay, so keep that shit in mind. Chief Holiday is in the building. The Thompson's one is in the building. If you like to support the brother, Chief Holiday, let them know where they can find you. Let them know what you got going on. And real quick, Chief, they had last week, somebody sent me a link, and fucking what's the motherfucker name? Javelin, what's his name? Javelin Bullets, or whatever the fuck that faggot nigga name is. He was over there with Todd Data. The nigga mentioned my name and some slander, right? And I'm just telling you, I know you be in contact with him, but I also said, like, tell that nigga to keep my name out his mouth. I don't have nothing to debate him with. I'm not even bringing no light to him. That motherfucking troll need to go back over there with Sonetta and keep it fucking moving. Stop coming over here, Carl. I don't even know why our brother Lotus even attempted to even try to debate with this idiot. Like, no, we ain't trying to make no pan-Aborigine movement. The only movement there is the movement to you classifying and declaring yourself to what your forefathers was. That's the only motherfucking movement that people should be doing. It's not a pan-American movement. We are already Americans. Pan-African movement was trying to bring all of the black people throughout the fucking world and connect them to Africa. We're not trying to do that. Even though we can say that, you know, you have black people on all different continents of this land, of the land of the Americas, of the land called Europe, of the land called Asia, of the conjoining islands, as well as the islands in the Pacific, as well as Australia and otherwise. He made a statement saying that what the fuck he said? He said that I was talking about Dane Calloway, and I made a video talking about connecting Africa. I don't know where he got his information from, but my channel is the Tonsinist one. You see my logo, you see who I am. Speak for me. Like I said, don't speak for me because I don't fuck with that nigga. So, I mean, like, I definitely, I'll tell when I see Todd Data, when I speak to him, I'm definitely going to relay the message to him. You know, I know Todd Data ain't had no control over that, but at least put the comment. I mean, he was saying that Light Man Z wasn't me, but at the same token, like, the same way Light Man Z was slandering him, you should have said the same thing about me. He said he gets put out there that me and Dame had a problem. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no problem with Dame. That's slander. You understand what I'm saying? So play the game fair. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to just put that out there. You know, Chief Holiday is my brother. I know Chief Holiday got good. He got good, you know what I'm saying, good recommendations for the Aboriginal community. I know he ain't had nothing to do with that. I don't even know if you was there when he said that shit, because I didn't even hear you in the chat at all. So I just wanted to just put that out there.
Yeah, I didn't hear that at all. You know, I would have addressed it. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, Haven is, a broke clock is right twice a day. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you get puts out information that was good, but when it comes to this Aboriginal stuff, he's misinformed. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, me, I'm one of the guys, man. You know, we always open the panel up over at Tribe Up. Y'all can check me out over there. We do go live on Tribe Up. But you know, I got to check out the channel, which is still suspended for hate speech, and it's over 90 days. So I don't know what's going on YouTube, but let's get that right. I thought this was America, Jack, that we could have freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? But I guess that doesn't apply to YouTube, so we can just go on with that. So that's why we created our own app, our own tribal social media app called TribeUp.app. Please check us out. Please subscribe. And anybody that you refer, you get money. It's the app that pays you to build your tribe. How simple is that? How simple is that? Come in, join our affiliate program, man. It's easy. It's discreet. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the partner Giovanni. Look out for the rise of the first American superheroes. Y'all see Supreme Chief right here. We got Jaguar. We got Copper Grizzly coming. We got Copperhawk coming. We got some Empresses. You know what I'm saying? We got so much coming, man. I mean, it's just crazy, man. And like I said, shout out to Ty Data, man. Two man's the hardest working man on YouTube, y'all. I'm telling y'all, hardest working man on the internet. He puts in a lot of work offline, man. So for me, I can work around differences that I have with brothers. I'm about the work. See what I'm saying? Like even when I was building over there on Lex Vortex channel, it was about putting this information into the next level. crossing it over the, you know what I'm saying? And so y'all see that because of a lot of the chess, Kyrie Irving is tracing his roots. You got Shaquille O'Neal and these guys talking about it. You got super young rappers talking about they came before Columbus. I mean, it's just a great time in history, man. The awakening is happening right now, man. So for me, man, it's about unification. It's about loving on your people, because you got Christians in your family. You got Moors in your family, in your direct family that you don't hate. You love your grandma. So why would you be hating all the rest of the Christians? So it's time for us to start coming together, man, as opposed to worrying about what they doing in their personal lives. As long as you ain't dealing with no children or trying to take nothing from nobody, man, you know, you're not trying to harm nobody, man. I don't pry into people's lives, man. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get into the personal stuff. I try to keep it about the information. And when it comes to slander, you already know, man. Niggas, characters, man. You know what I'm saying? Like they I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I like to address people and expose them. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with it, man. Yeah, man, just be on the lookout, man. Everything we got going on, man. Support us, man. Love on us, man. We're gonna love on you back. You know, hate is another form of love too, y'all. So a lot of these guys that hate, they actually love you. They really do. That's why they speak on you. And that's why they want to, you know, whatever. So, you know, I look at it as a flattery, man. And just keep working, man. It's about the people. It's about the future. It's about the children. So what are you going to leave for the children for the next level, man? And a lot of y'all what y'all going to leave? You have a record. It's online. It's out there. So like 100 years from now, after you gone, the shit that you putting out is going to be still out there. People going to be like, hey, look what this guy was doing. Look what they was talking about. You know what I'm saying? And so hopefully they're going to be talking about Atasha this one. They're going to be talking about Aboriginal power. They're going to be talking about Jaguar. They're going to be talking about Curry Mayo's work, of the things that you guys have been doing. And all the other people, man, shout out to y'all. Shout out to Phoenix Moon. Shout out to everybody, man. Even cats that we don't really rock with, I appreciate the work they're doing because they waking people up. So shout out to everybody, man.
No doubt.
Also tell the people about be on the lookout for the First American Powwow. That's going to be April 19th through the 21st, Las Vegas, Nevada. You're going to have A1 there is confirmed so far, myself, Chief Colonial. We're going to be honoring Dr. Yafa Bay, Chief Warhorse, a lot of other people, man. We got a lot of stuff going on, man. So we got a lot of other people that we inviting, man. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be going up soon. Tickets going to be on sale soon for that. Hopefully y'all come out and congregate with us in April, man. The biggest powwow ever, man. It's gonna be the grandest powwow in American history. That's what we got going down in Las Vegas. 420. Let's get it. Be there, be square.
That's right, man. Thanks, Chief. That's my brother. And support all of his endeavors as far as, you know what I'm saying, everything he said or whatever. You know where to find them at. And remember your boy Atasha this one. If you can, please support your brother. You can reach me, you know where to reach me at, Chief Atasha at AOL.com. Also, like I said, man, support Culture Freedom, man. Please support me, man. Please support Culture Freedom as well as my t-shirt spring. You know, like I said, I got 90 different shirts up there, man. Donations are welcome. I got my Cash App in the description as well as my PayPal account. Yo, send the donations, man. I need the donations so I can get this going on. I'm saying I have funding to put towards it, but I definitely need the energy of the Aborigines so I can really push this forward, man. So you got my PayPal account, send the donations through. Also support your brother with his endeavors as far as my t-shirt spring. You'll see the shirt, you'll see the images I got up there. There's all original shit. I ain't take nobody ideas. I still got you, little bro. Don't worry about it. Man. So when I come back, I got you. But yeah, definitely support me, man. Support your brother, man. Cause you know what I'm saying, I got good, how you say, good intentions or whatever. Got no negative intentions. Just want to get this documentary out so we can reclaim who we are and we can have some positive documentary. We got plenty of documentary on YouTube, but we need to get something on mainstream. So that's where I'm trying to really push, man. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I got footage and everything. I actually got in contact with the brother of the 103 Black Indian, 103 facts about the Black Indian. I actually got back in contact with him, and more than likely he is going to be on the documentary. Like I said, so I'm probably going to be doing an interview with him. I want to go down there where he's at, as well as Chief Warhorse, trying to get that sister on there, as well as a few other people. So definitely support your brother, man. With that being said, this is Colonization, Equal White Supremacy. I am the Conscious One with the brother Chief Holiday. And that's it, man. I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a good day. Until the next time, y'all. Peace.